Hey, it's James back in the Plant Food Kitchen. Third demo on Earth Day here. I was cleaning up from getting back from the farmer's market and had made my kimchi and a smoothie bowl, and then I was looking at these carrot tops and I thought, I'm just all set up. I'm going to shoot the carrot top pesto. I mention this to students and people that I'm working with all the time, and they say, what? How would you do that? So I'm going to go over that. It's very easy. So let's start with talking about pesto. What is pesto? Pesto is something that's been around for a long time. In the ancient Roman traditions, they would use olive oil and garlic and maybe some little bit of vinegar in there, and usually pine nuts and sometimes some herbs in there. Not always herbs. The basil version that we know came later, but they would do it in, because this was far before Cuisinarts or food processors, a mortar pestle or something where they could crush it all together, and thus the name of pesto. I'm not going to do the ancient method. I could, and it's great, and I'm sure I will do that in another video. But I probably want to use basil and something traditional to show you that one. Most of you are not going to have this giant, beautiful mortar pestle at home, so I will show you using the standard food processor. It's going to have garlic in it, for sure. It's going to have a quality olive oil, virgin cold pressed, of course. I'm going to use walnuts in here. This is how I store my walnuts. And by the way, in my kitchen, if I go to grab almonds or walnuts or any of the nuts that I want to soak the enzyme inhibitors off of, they're in a jar. And then I know they've been soaked overnight, drained, rinsed, and dried out in the dehydrator, and they're ready to be used. Now, why would I do that? There's a coating on the walnut. And if you've ever opened up fresh walnuts and cracked them open and put them in your mouth, you know that there's that weird astringent feeling all over your teeth, and just that, they're actually hard on your gut if you eat a bunch of those out of the shell. That's because they have a protective coating. Mother Nature is so amazing. And she's given them a protection against mold and any kind of bugs that would get in there and destroy it before it could grow into a huge, in this case, walnut tree. That protective coating, that enzyme inhibitor, is not good on our stomach. And you want to go, I would soak them at least 8 hours. I do it overnight. And then rinse them out and dehydrate them until they have a good snap. Good crunch to them, because you don't want to be then storing them with any moisture in them where they could mold, and that would not be good. But as long as you get them crunchy, they're going to be fine. Okay, so that's what I'm using in my recipes. If you see me referring to S&D nuts, they're soaked and dehydrated, or some people say sprouted and dehydrated. Sprouted only refers to like almonds, because if you do have raw almonds, they will start to sprout in that process. And that's great, because we love to activate anything that we can. I'm going to put some lemon in there to brighten it up, but that also acts as a preservative. Citrus is great for that, so that it lasts longer in the fridge. And I'll give you a tip when I'm putting it in the jar on how to make it last longer as well. The classic Roman pestos had cheese in them. They were putting in Parmesan and different cheeses into it. I'm, of course, doing a plant-based version, so I'm not going to put cheese into this. I'm going to put a light chickpea miso in there as well in the background to provide that kind of cheese. This is our conversion, from using dairy into using plant foods. Plus, miso is good for the gut. It has probiotics, and you'll hear me saying it again and again. I'm going to chop up this carrot tops. I'm going to add in a little bit of parsley here, or my recipe will say either. You could also do basil. So play around with the other little herb addition. It can work without anything but the carrot tops, but I kind of like these two together. They're very complementary. Many times when we're cooking carrots, we're using parsley in a recipe. So they're just symbiotic. And so I'll be putting those in as well. And take my knife. These bigger stems on here, that's for soup stock. That's going to go into my soup stock container for sure. Or if you're juicing, they're fantastic to juice. Any greens are great to juice, so save them for that. And then this, I can just kind of rough chop it up into something that's going to be easy to get into the food processor. And I'm, this is about one big bunch of carrots that you get at the farmer's market. There's no rocket science here about exactly 3 cups or whatever. This is generally about 3 to 4 cups of carrot tops, which will be great. So we've got that ready. The parsley, same thing. The stems on it are even smaller, so I can just leave them all on there. Just do a quick rough chop and you're ready to go. So there's all of our greens. On the garlic, just give them a quick smash with your chef knife. It's a quick, easy way to get that paper off of there. And of course, that paper goes into the soup broth. All paper from all alliums I save. It is such a rich component of making a great stock. So I never toss it into the compost. That's always going to be saved for my wonderful, rich zone broth. So then just take the little ends off there of the garlic that are usually a little dried and oxidized. These are pretty much ready to go in. They're going to get broken down, so I can chop them up a little bit, but I don't have to worry about mincing them or anything. Okay? Let's start with the nuts. Let's put these in here and start to break them down. I'm going to put about a cup of walnuts in there. Now this could be cashews, this could be pine nuts, this could be my favorite, pistachio, which is spectacular and adds a spectacular color to it. In fact, I'm going to grab some. Make sure that you're buying unsalted. You can buy them already shelled, but get the unsalted ones. You don't need that extra salt in there. I'm always looking for unsalted pistachios. I'm going to throw a few of those in there. They provide such a beautiful, sweet, nutty flavor and a beautiful green. Whenever you've ever crushed up pistachios, you can see that. Actually, they're one of the healthiest all-around nuts. They have lower fat than almost every nut. So, really love using those. I'm going to process this down a little bit. Just getting it a jump start so that we don't have to over-process waiting for the nuts to get broken down enough for the pesto to be finished. Okay, so now we'll put in our garlic, and our miso can go in also. Actually, I'll wait on the miso just a little bit. The lemon and the miso can hold off for a second. And I'm going to pulse that garlic into there. Just letting that garlic get a little broken down. Okay. And now we're ready to start putting in our greens. And why did I not put the greens in right at the beginning? Well, I find that herbs and leafy greens like this get really bitter if they're over-processed. So I like to wait and put them in once I've gotten the nuts a little bit broken down and ready to receive them. Get every one of those little good bits in there. And the miso can just go right in at this point. And then the lemon juice can be spread around throughout this as well. That's probably about 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. One lemon's usually about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then I'm going to use the handle. If you have the model of Cuisinart or food processor that has a handle on the front, it's really kind of handy, not to be punny. You can turn it on and shake it. It helps to move things around while it's blending. Okay. We've got one thing left. What would any pesto be without olive oil? Very classic oil from the Mediterranean region where all the blue zones are, and when it's not being cooked with, a very healthy part of our diet. I'm very well aware of the smoke points in oils, so if I'm going to be cooking, I'm more likely to use an avocado oil or a sunflower oil because they have a much higher smoke point. And olive oil, if it gets overheated on the stove, can actually become a free radical. in your body and is not really a healthy idea at all. Now we can take the olive oil, and I'm going to put in about, I would say, 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup. And you'll be able to see, we're going to blend it down a little bit, and I can put a little bit more if necessary, but I don't get too carried away with it at first. All right. Mix it around here. It looks great. It's not over blended. There's a consistency with all the nuts through there. Now I want to taste it and make any adjustments necessary at this point. Now you notice I haven't put salt in here. A lot of people dump salt in early on, and I want to taste it first and see if I really need any extra salt, because I brought in miso, remember, and that is a really healthy, probiotic, rich way to bring salt in a healthy way for our gut. Let's see if that's enough. Oh my gosh. I haven't had carrot top pesto in a while. I love this pesto. That's it. It's done. It has a lemony brightness in the background. Just enough garlic with the 4 garlic cloves in there. I can taste the carrot. I get a little hint of the parsley in the background. And the sweetness of those pistachios floats through. I'm telling you, this is an incredible way to use up your carrot tops. And you're going to thank me, because you're never going to throw them away again once you try this. Now I would take and store it in a jar. And here's my tip on storage. When you put it into your jar, I love using these little funnels that make it easy whenever I'm packing into a jar like this. Now if I was just to take this and throw it into the fridge in a bowl or something and just put a lid on it, without this next tip I'm going to show you, it wouldn't last as long. You flatten it out on the top with your spatula or a spoon. If it's easier to get a spoon in there, you're going to take your olive oil and pour a coating across the top. Perfect. It is sealed with that layer of olive oil on the top there, and that will prevent your pesto from oxidizing. I mean, you've all experienced how when you get the pesto back out of the fridge, it's got turned black. That oil sheen on the top will prevent any oxygen and any non-beneficial bacteria getting on there and any mold starting. Then this is going to last up to 2 weeks in the fridge, where it would have only lasted a few days. So put your olive oil on the top, put it in the fridge, and enjoy your carrot top pesto. I'm telling you, you're going to love this one. If you like all these tips and tricks that I'm giving you from the Plant Food Kitchen that are super powerful, healthy approaches to plant-based living that will support the microbiome in your gut and give you great brain health and an optimal life and turn back the clock on aging, hit like, hit subscribe, and get involved. Follow along with Plant Food Chef, private message me and find out about the courses and workshops that I have coming up. Who knows, once we get past this COVID, we'll see where it goes. Enjoy your pesto.